And I mean, I went on a 15-hour run, Rob, where I went missing. My family was looking for me, and I was running, in Oxnard, for 15 hours, and that was the first.
Like running, like physically running, like
running. I was running.
Like Forrest Gump running.
Like physically running.
I made it through the rough time. I made it through the tough time. I made it through the bad time. So now I gotta get mine. Gotta weather the storm. Gotta get mine. Gotta weather the storm. I gotta get mine. Gotta weather the storm. Okay. One day we gon' get on. Talk to 'em. You ain't got a choice.
Welcome to Bailey and Buck Unplugged, where we talk about sports, entertainment, and mental health in support of the Kennedy Kids Foundation. If you're struggling with mental health, we encourage you to speak up and get help. A great place to start is 988. That's the free crisis prevention lifeline. Or you can check out the resources tab at kennedykids.org. If you are in an absolute emergency, please dial 911. Either way, we want you to know that you are not alone and that you don't have to struggle, and speak up, get help. There are resources available to you, and we are here to support you. If you're new around here, I want to introduce you to our host. I am Misty Buck. I am an author and a mental health and performance coach. And my co-hosts are Robert Bailey. He is the president of Rosenhaus Sports, the president of Kennedy Kids Foundation. He's a two-time Super Bowl champion, two-time college national champion. He's an NFL record holder, and he's an ESPY winner. And we are also joined by Bailey Brooks Masburn. She is a celebrity wedding and event planner, a former NFL cheerleader, and the executive director of the Kennedy Kids Foundation. Welcome to Bailey and Buck Unplugged. Today, and on today's show, we have another University of Miami alum, which we love. But what is so special about that fact is that not only did his father attend the U, but so did his grandfather, which I thought was so cool. And they all made it to the NFL. Like, what is in that DNA? Allow me to introduce you to former NFL linebacker, drafted by the Steelers in 2015 and now retired after 6 seasons, Mr. Anthony Chickillo. Welcome, Anthony.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm really excited. I love Rob to death. He's like a brother to me. So I would anything. Go ahead, Rob.
I would say we go way back, and I remember, guys, when I recruited Anthony at University of Miami. The very first time I made contact with him was after a game, and I walked up to him. He was with his father, and these two guys are some of the most toughest guys that there are a lot of tough guys that came out of University of Miami. So they're the epitome of that. And I walked up to Anthony, and obviously he's towering over me. And I remember introducing myself, and he basically like slapped me out of the way. Slapped me out of the way. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm not getting that one. I guess I'm not getting that guy.
Teach me that technique, Anthony, to slap him out of the way.
Me out of the way. But we ended up signing Anthony, and me and him became extremely, extremely close. I think it had to do with just the energy that we have for each other, and that we exude, that is similar, and that we both went to University of Miami, and then his family went to University of Miami. But not only that, he's special. He's a special person to me because he was always open to advice. He would call, ask me questions. I love people that are always willing to listen and ask questions. He was always like that. I loved him for that. But not only that, but Anthony played in the NFL and was a good player for the Steelers, and really came into a situation where he shouldn't have been playing. He shouldn't have been a guy to even really make the team, but he did. And he fought hard, and the team loved him, and he made a lot of good friends. But he also, at some point, had some tough times mentally, and I was there for him. And that is the reason why I wanted Anthony to come on the show, because I wanted him to explain and give the audience insight into how, what he went through, how he got through it, or the events that happened, and how he took those events and actually came out a better person from those events. So, Anthony, I'm so happy to have you on the program. The audience is going to be absolutely astounded by some of the things that you're going to say. I know me and you talked, and you said that there's a lot of things that you haven't talked about that you wanted to get out and talk about on this show. So I'm gonna, kind of take a step back and let one of my associates, I think Baby has a question for you, or Misty, but let's start the show.
No, well, we wanted to just basically give you the floor and the opportunity to talk about what's been happening in your life recently. First of all, we know you got married on February 28th, so let's start with a positive congratulations.
Thank you.
Marion Star.
Awesome.
She's a star. He's Marion Star.
Unbelievable.
Thank you guys. We got married this past Friday here at my house in Tampa. It was really, really nice. We had all of our family, close family and close friends, real like small, intimate wedding. And I couldn't be luckier of a guy to landed a woman like Kat.
That's awesome, man.
That's awesome. Oh, congrats. I'm aware, by the way, so I just love these stories. I'm like, ooh.
And also, guys, when I lost my daughter 2 years ago, and Anthony was there for me. It was early in the process. It was daily devastation. And, I went to Anthony and Kat and at her studio, and she tattooed a very, very special tattoo on my hand. So she's very dear to me. She just accepted me in, and we talked, and she's a wonderful, wonderful woman. I'm so excited that he married her. She's linked to our foundation. Anthony's linked to our foundation. She's a special person, and Anthony, I'm so proud of you, and I'm excited and happy for you two, your future together.
Thank you, Rob. I really appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, 100%. So, Ant, just to start out, I alluded to the fact that you had some mental health problems coming out of football, dealing with football, the business of football. I'd like to give you the stage and have you really talk about what happened and all the things that surrounded that.
Yeah. So for me, like mental health, growing up, mental health and like mental health struggles and people battling mental health, I didn't know there was a thing. I didn't have that problem as a childhood and elementary school and middle school and high school and college. Everything always kind of came as it came, and there was no mental health problems for me. And then that all changed for me in 2019, going into my last season in Pittsburgh. During that off season, I started to exhibit behaviors and act a certain way that I have never acted before. And with those behaviors, can you give us an example of those behaviors? Yeah. So I like something that started in 2019, where I would have these spurts in these time periods where I would have an incredible amount of energy, like nobody could match my energy. Where I that's when like it started, where I would be I would stop. Sleeping became a problem. Sleeping became a problem. I started getting aggressive with teammates of years. You know what I mean? Getting in altercations with teammates of years. Just stuff that's not out of my character for who I was as a player and my whole career. I was always known as a great team guy. I always got along with my teammates, and that started changing. I remember, like I would like scream. I would scream really loud, and I was doing this all, with it in the Pittsburgh Steelers, building. So, it was to go through it where where I went through it. That was like the beginning of it. And then it carried on to where, like I told you, that where I would have that incredible amount of energy, it would be in spurts where it would come back. You know what I mean? So it started in 2019. And then in 2021, Rob, you remember when I retired, I went out to California. I went out to California to try to start doing my NFL benefits. And I mean, I went on a 15-hour run, Rob, where I went missing. My family was looking for me, and I was running, in Oxnard, for 15 hours, and that was the first.
Like running, like physically running, like
running. I was running,
like Forrest Gump running.
Yeah, like physically running.
Wow.
And yeah,
15 hours.
Yeah, that was the first time after the 15-hour run where I kind of like I made it like come to an end where when a police officer, a car drove by me, I knew I was lost, and I knew like I'd been gone for a long time. And I put my hands up in the air as they drove by. I put my hands up in the air, and they rolled down their window, and then I sat on the floor and I told them to take me away, and then they took me away, and that was the first time from between 2021 to 2023, I went to 7 different facilities, and I was Baker acted 6 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. When it happened when it first happened at the Steeler organization in the building, did any players say, "Hey, what's going on?" Did the coaches, did anybody come up to you? How was that? I just want to start back there. Did the head coach say, "Hey, let's have a talk"? Did anybody recognize anything?
They all saw it. They all saw how I was getting my. It just wasn't like how I behaved, my prior 4 years as a Steeler. So, the feeling of depression, really started for me in 2019, after that spring where I started displaying that sort of different behavior. But depression really came into my life when I was falsely accused of hitting, getting in trouble. I don't want to get into all, like, I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want to. I don't want to talk about
the details of that. Right.
I don't want to talk about the details of that person, but everything ended up playing out the way it did, so it's public record anyways. But yes, depression after I was arrested and domestic violence tags started being involved in my life. That was a really big thing for me because of, Rob, as the family that I come from, my dad being the way that he is, an old school, raised by an old school Italian, and they're putting hands on a woman in my house growing up. That wasn't an option with my sisters. That there was severe consequences for that type of behavior.
Right.
So for me to be associated with that type of, that type of offense and it was on a national level. The first time I ever get in trouble in my life, it's coming. I'm watching on ESPN and I'm watching my name come across the bottom ticker. About the arrest. So that was tough. That was tough to deal with, and that was the first time where I felt depression in my life.
That's tough. Let me ask you, during that time, through the depression, did any suicide ideations come up in your mind?
Yeah, the thought of it would be better off like if you weren't here. That thought would always be one that would be a constant for me. And I became, you know, you remember at my worst, I was like, it was like in Space Jam. It was like
I was talking to you almost every day. I remember.
It was like in Space Jam, you know what I mean? When they took the suit, the mojo away from the guys. That's how I was. I couldn't be myself. I couldn't. I'm a guy that loves to have a good laugh with my guys. I'm very telling stories, very talkative, and I couldn't do any of that. It was like it was taken away from me. No matter how hard I tried to be normal, it's the feeling of it is anyone that goes through it, they know that it's very, very hard to come back from being at the feeling at the bottom for so long, when you feel that people like I'm very grateful because I know from places I've been that people get into that way and they can't ever come out of it, where they're just depressed and lost and have nowhere to no way of coming out of it. So I'm very, very thankful that God has given me a second chance back, where from where I was.
So back to Robert's question about the Steelers noticing the difference in you. Did anybody try to help you? Especially knowing what they knew of you and of your character and seeing that something was different and off?
They a lot more could have been done, and it would have prevented a lot of heartache, a lot of tough times for me in the future if something would have been done early on when they saw the changes.
See, and
I want to pause here for a second, Anthony, and I want to say thank you for sharing what you're sharing. And I want to thank you for your transparency, because we're just getting into the show. But this is not, at least in my experience, not easy to talk about what you're sharing. And so I just want to pause here and give you appreciation for the openness that you're giving with us right now. And that, this is, I'm glad that you feel safe and comfortable enough to talk about this now. And I know that it's not easy.
Oh no. Yeah. It's all right.
Yeah. It's all right.
We appreciate it.
And I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, Anthony is still a tough guy, by the way. It's hard. This is hard for him mainly because he's showing his feelings, and he grew up, as he mentioned, his dad, the Italian side of his family. These are all tough guys. His dad is scary. When I'm around his dad, I'm acting tough. But his dad's pretty scary too.
No, I believe you. And I just was really concerned about the fact that that we have this opportunity, and thank you, Anthony, to second miss you. But we have this opportunity to find out what more could have been done to prevent that, so that this show is to help other people. I
call all the NFL offices. I called Roger Goodell. I left them all a voicemail, and I told them that something bad was happening to me, and I don't know what's going on.
And see, that's the part where we feel like, as the organization and the community that we serve, is that's where the gaps are, and that's what people don't realize. And no shade on the people you called and left messages with, and back then, which was only not that long ago, 2019, but they might not have known what to do. This is getting more prevalent, and more awareness is being brought to it. And it's you're really helping us to help other people with your story and with what happened. And it's
right.
I want to be able to be the person that if somebody calls me, I also know what to do. I want to be able to be there for other people and help them get through this to prevent it. Because I have done some.
So Jeremy Schaap from ESPN was supposed to tell my story about what happened, and they called me and they told me that that there's other stories that are better, and then that was it.
So you've never had a chance to, you don't feel like you've ever had a chance to tell your full side of the story.
Well, like I have an understanding of like what this is, because I've watched like my dad suffers from brain stuff, so I've watched it from both ways. Where I was a child watching it happen to my dad, where I was watching him go through like his stuff, and then it became a point where I was going through the same things.
Was your dad also a linebacker?
Defensive lineman.
Defensive lineman. Okay, so
also dealt with concussions.
Yeah.
And all that.
My dad's way crazier than me. You guys can ask Rob about that.
Yeah. His dad is another level. But I want to, and again, I want to, jump on to what Misty was saying. We really, really appreciate you. But I want to get to a part of the story. I remember me and you having many conversations, and also I remember through a lot of these events, me being in contact with your mom and your dad, and then, in contact with you and helping you. I remember reaching out to the NFLPA, and they helped you. And if you can just elaborate on that part of the story, right? Like from I look at that as the beginning of healing, right? When the union started to help you, and I put you in touch with one of their directors in their mental health program. Can you talk about that particular journey to getting better? What worked, what didn't work? To get you to this point now where you feel good about. And it's always a journey. You're always trying to get better. You're always trying to stay in a good place. But I just want you to elaborate on that particular process of getting better.
Well, the process of getting better was started in 2022. So I'm at 2019, Rob.
Right.
So when I went to Pure out in California the day after I retired, and remember, Rob, I wasn't going to retire.
Right.
I was training, and I was training hard,
Right.
But unfortunately, and this next part I'm going to leave out, so I'm going to skip this because I don't want to talk about this part. It's an important part, though. Like, I was going to talk about this, Rob, but like I can't talk about. I don't want to bring light to the past girls that I've been with.
100%.
But in reality, what they did, the girl that I dated, after I mean in trouble with the cops, did the same thing, and that forced me to retire from football because the NFL was gonna open up another domestic violence investigation on me.
Right.
So I didn't want to deal with that, so I retired from football and I went out to Pure in California, and I was out there for 19 days, and Pure is where guys go to get their NFL benefits. And Rob, nobody, I like to say, like, the way this, whatever, how this works, Rob, of the stages of this thing, that whatever happened to me, I was fully activated, right? So I leave Pure in a bad way, where a girl ended up getting fired over she called the cops on me in a group session. I was in a group session in the house, and the lady called the cops.
Why did she call the cops?
But like somebody that you were in the
because I got
with,
because they started the meeting was supposed to start at 9:00, and they came in like we were all sitting there at 9:00. They came in the room really late, and I voiced being upset about that. And then she called the cops. I got removed from the
facility.
Removed from the facility. I leave, Rob. I leave, and I go get a rent a car, and I come back, and I went crazy. Like how I can get where I'm attacking people and saying things. It can be really nasty, and I went I went off on the staff there, and I left the facility. And during my time in the NFL, I became really close with the DeBarlo family, and I went to their house in LA while I was fully like that. And unfortunately they saw me, in that way. They saw like how it is, when it's out of control. And then that's when I went to another facility in Houston, Texas, the J. Flower Institute. I spent 14 days there with those people at the J. Flower Institute, trying to get some answers of what's going on with me now, of like why I'm so charged up, Rob. So I come back home to Tampa after the J. Flower Institute, and that's when I called the cops on myself. I called 911 on myself at my house, and they all came, and I was like a monster, and they had all their guns. My mom's in the driveway, Rob. There's 7 different officers. 4 of them had their guns drawn. 3 of them had their tasers drawn, and it's weird, Rob, because I've been in that situation now a couple different times, and when I'm in that mode, I there's no thought of I'm about to get shot. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
And from that point, how did you start to, what did you start to do to get better? Well,
so after the energy, like the crazy amount of energy left that I had when it finally went away, it was like my health bar was at, a low percentage, and I just didn't have no life to me. It was like my eyes were empty.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was a great description you had about the Space Jam, because I've seen Space Jam so many times, and I totally, when they removed the power from the gods, it's like that totally resonated with me, because it made a lot of sense. It like took everything out of you.
Yeah.
Is there
So when they took me away, this was the word. At all the places that I've been to, this was like the place where I went to, Shands in Gainesville. That's where it wasn't good. Like I was there for 11 days, and every day 3 people, they would come into my room. 3 people would grab me, hold me down, and then 2 nurses would come and they would stab me with these big needles into my legs. And they would do it. They did it every day while I was there, until I finally, I would get to use the phone, and I kept on telling my people that they got to come and get me.
wild? That is so hard to, like, that's crazy. I just feel for you, because like that's it. That's you're supposed to be in this space to get help, correct?
Yeah.
And that's the only thing. 3 times a day. That was the plan. That was the help.
Yeah. They every day while I was there, they would come into the room and do that.
Was that a sedative? Was that something they wanted to have?
They didn't tell me what it was, Rob.
You never to this day knew what they were sticking in.
I don't know what it was that they were putting in my legs.
Wow. Yeah, that's super challenging to hear. And I would advise you to like see if you could pull records, to see if you can get the medical records to see what they gave you, just so you have it on file for your personal self. But I really do want to go back to this 15-hour run journey. And then like the moment that you stopped running and you put your hands up, and then they and told them to take you, what?
Yeah.
How did you?
So they pulled. So after the 15-hour run, they put when they took me away, when they pulled me out to the hospital, there was a whole bunch of cops like waiting at the hospital when we pulled up. And I remember like I did when we got to the hospital, when I saw the cops, I like it made me like go like more crazy. And I just remembered like they like when I came when they started taking me out, that somebody like put like a tranquilizer thing in my neck, and then like I woke up on a table. I woke up on a table, and all these doctors are like looking at me like in white coats, and they kept asking me, what drugs have you been taking? And I kept on telling them I'm not on any drugs. I'm on no drugs. I don't know why you guys are saying I'm on drugs. And then they came back in the room. When they came back in the room, they stabbed me with the needle, and then that's when I woke up, and that's when I was in my first time that I was Baker acted, which is a 72-hour hold.
Wow.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah. Wow.
That's intense. So okay, fast forward to the most recent events. Are we allowed to talk about those?
Oh yeah, talking about in Miami.
Sure.
Yes.
If you're open to it.
Yeah.
Because it's like to
So-
me, like this is a journey for you, and you're still going through some of this stuff. So after you talk about the Miami one, I'd like to talk about what happens next. Like, how do we help you like eliminate any more of these?
Yeah. So the Miami events, and there's been multiple Miami events now. The most recent ones is not the only that I got Baker acted at Miami Beach, where it happened at the Fountain Blue, where the same thing where I get like charged up, and I either go on like when it happens, I go on like a walk, or I'll start running.
Oh,
And it happened in Miami, and I ended up in what was the place called? Uh, it's on Miami Beach. If you said the name, I remember it, bro.
You mean the hospital?
Yeah,
not Mount Sinai?
that's it.
Yeah.
I ended up there. But the most recent ones in Miami, that those were the scariest ones, because it started in Cat's neighborhood in Miami, where I was on one of those walks where it happens, and neighbors, the police were called. A woman drew her taser. A woman police officer drew her taser on me, shot me with a taser. I grabbed the taser, I pulled it out of my chest. I kept on moving. Once you do that, a lot more cops and a lot a lot more cops with a lot more cops with a lot more guns and tasers appear once you do that. So,
Right.
yeah, that night, I ended up on an incubator, where I was on an incubator for 3 days, because the fire department, they gave me an overdose on the drugs to try to
Take you down.
take me down. So
And
I ended up on an incubator, where I was on an incubator for 3 days.
Wow.
And then the incident that happened at the hospital, that was arranged by Vinny Scavo from the University of Miami. The month of October, I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep one day. I stayed up every night.
The whole month.
The whole month of October, I stayed up every day. But not only did I stay up every day, I had the most incredible energy it didn't matter that I wasn't sleeping. It was just like normal. So my parents, my family was scared. And it was like supposed to be a controlled thing at the hospital through the University of Miami. And all they wanted to do was take my blood. That was what they were supposed to do, to take my blood, to see what's in my blood, to make me like this. And I never, when we got to the hospital, they put us in a room, and it was like, it was it was me and my dad started fighting, arguing, and then we come out of the room, and the cops are already coming, and my dad had ripped my shirt had come off, and right as my shirt come off, my back was turned to the cops, and they tased me from real close, and it was a lot harder than the other one, and I didn't have no shirt on, so it crushed me. It crushed me.
Oh, wow.
So are you still, Anthony, at this stage today, are you still getting help? Is it a continue, do you have a therapist?
What is the help that you're getting?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah. So during this whole process, I was very lucky to come across, and it wasn't just one person, but it was a team of people that helped me get back on track. And it's an everyday thing when you're dealing with any sort of brain trauma where you got to take care of yourself. You got to eat right, exercise, do everything in your power to make sure that you're doing things to help yourself not hurt yourself moving forward after you go through playing any combat sport.
Right.
Combat sport. That's how you describe football. Combat sport, just in case anyone missed it.
Glad. Where'd you find this team? Where'd you find the team?
So
for other people out there that may be going through something and want to reach out.
Yeah, Michael Gonzalez, he's on the show Intervention. People that watch a lot of TV on A&E. He was him and his team of people that he got me in contact with. They were key in helping me get on the right track.
Wow. And what was that track, if you don't mind? Are you on medication? Are you on a?
Yeah. So Rob, so now you asked me earlier about the process of getting better and like
right.
so a place where I came, like when I started to come back like from out of the funk.
Right.
I went to the Eisenhower Center in Michigan, and that was the place that you were talking about, that you helped me, you and my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
You guys were talking and you guys were all scared. My whole family, everybody was scared.
Yeah, I was scared, man.
Yeah. They thought that I was going to be just this, a fraction of who I used to be the rest of my life. And guys that play combat sports, and when I say combat sports, because it's not just football, all combat sports, the monster that doesn't have a face that comes for us, that put ourselves through that. It's as real as anything, and I know that I'm not going to be the last person that has the type of symptoms and affected how I was affected, and for the people out there that go through that stuff, you can come out of it no matter how bad you think it is, no matter how bad you think you got it, no matter how many times you hear in your head that it's not going to be okay. It eventually is going to be okay, and you're going to get through it.
Yeah, that actually brings up a question for me. What would you say to either someone who might be experiencing something similar or a loved one of somebody who's experiencing something similar? What are some things that you think that they could look out for, number one? And then number two, what kind of first steps would you tell them to take?
The first step, I would say that the first step that helped me, like, and I would be, really, really far off if I wouldn't say how incredible my family and my support system was during this time. I mean, my mom, she wouldn't let me go down. She wasn't going to see her baby boy go down with, the way it was happening. And my dad, my brother, my brother-in-law, my sisters, they were always there for me. And Kat, obviously during the time that I went through the last time it happened in Miami, yeah, I have an incredible support system. But the first thing that got me like to get help was when I went to the J. Flower Institute, and I heard my peers and other guys, similar situations, speaking about the way that they were feeling and how similar to me. And then speaking about how the way that I felt at those different places, I felt like that helped me. That helped me a lot. And I also during the process, my family. One of the options we went and met with the doctors. We were talking about where they zap your brain,
Mm-hmm.
and like
like an electroshock type.
Yeah, an electroshock, and then like they would say maybe your personality would be altered. Like that was a discussion, because that's how bad that's how bad it was. But
Right.
but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have, like, for me, it was years and years and years of trying to find the right situation, the right method of getting help. You have to speak with a therapist. You have to get a therapist that you like, that you can speak with and speak about your problems, and you have to be able to listen to what they say, and be able to respect what they say, and you can't always think that your way's right over theirs. Just that thought I had to drop that.
You had to lose the ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's
awesome.
really hard. So like, what would be some of the, what would be some of the things that, because you just alluded to, I mean, you talked a little bit at the beginning about the things that you were feeling, and you just said now when you were at J. Flower and there were guys and other people talking about, and you were like, oh, wait, that sounds familiar, right? Like, it's not just me. So what, if you don't mind sharing, what are some of those things that people experience in common?
Unnecessary aggression,
Mm-hmm.
short-tempered, trying to think of.
Did everybody have the burst of energy you had?
I've actually one guy who I actually played with at Miami, and I don't want to say his name because he's actually still playing. He goes through stuff the same way, and we talk about it.
That's interesting.
How about the sleepless nights? Was that common too?
No, I haven't met someone that with the sleep, like how, or the 30 days and the.
Oh, wow. So more of like the common things, that sounds like what you're saying are just like you kind of uncharacteristically were aggressive for kind of unforeseen reasons, or sort of like these emotional outbursts for, again, uncharacteristic to who you are, which could be symptomatic of all kinds of different things, right? But it sounds like those are two of the common things that you're saying that your peers at J. Flower also experienced.
Wait, what's the question?
So like the aggression, as I say, like, so like two of the things that you think it seems like everyone had in common. So maybe it wasn't the burst of energy or the sleeplessness, but it was like the aggression, the emotions.
When you ask that question, I'm thinking of it because I've been to 7 different facilities, so I think about each facility of the group.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah, so like when I was at the J. Flower, or when I was at the Eisenhower Center in Michigan, those group of guys, they were part of my they were part of, like, I felt like they were a good group of guys to help to hear their stories, and I had good conversations with them about about different stuff that they were going through and different stuff that I was going through. When I was at Pure, um, you know, the everybody was angry. You know, it was
Right.
there was more anger because guys are just getting done playing, so there was rage, and I felt like you know, that rubbed off. You know, that helped, that added to,
Like amped everybody up.
yeah, it amped everybody up.
Uh,
So when I was at the place in Gainesville, Shands, that was just it was a really bad experience. When I was there, I couldn't believe I was in there. I was just like, how did I end up here?
Right.
You know,
Out of the 7 places, you said you went to 7 facilities. Was the 7th facility the one that you said, okay, this one is the best one? Which one do you feel like you connected with in terms of getting better?
the Eisenhower Center.
And what number was that one?
That was the last one.
That was the last one.
That was
Okay.
the last one.
That's good, man.
The last one.
have they? So, all right. So through all of this discovery and everywhere you've had to suffer, really is like my heart bleeds for you. Like this whole podcast, I'm just trying not to cry, like because I just like as a friend feel like, wow, that's a lot like to go through. Have you been able now to pinpoint the source of why this is happening to you? Like, have you had a diagnosis yet?
Yeah. Yeah. So my team, like my team of people that helped me get like that helped me get back on track. They like there's been 2 different diagnoses from like in like with me during this process. Okay. People like doctors are that don't spend a lot of time with me, listen to me, learn my story, like about, you know, never been in trouble, never been arrested, and then in a short period right after playing, the only thing I did in my life, was play football. So the doctors that my team of doctors told me that what's happened with you is it's a cause and effect. You hurt your brain, it's frontal lobe damage. So people that give me the bipolar label, that's them wiping their hands clean of trying not to acknowledge like that they're saying and I've done a lot of readings about this, like talked to a lot of different people about this. If I had bipolar signs would have been shown early on in my 20s. They weren't shown. They weren't shown. I started playing football at 6 years old. I played for 24 years, and that's it. That I know what the cause and effect. My team of doctors told me what the cause and effect. I've had a lot of different people give me different opinions. And the only thing that matters to me, and really the only thing that matters to me now, is if somebody's going through like these type of things where, they don't know who they are anymore. They have a lot of aggression, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of different emotions, a lot of uncontrollable emotions. If they're going through that stuff, you can come out of it. I don't want to see anybody go through what I went through. I don't want to see anyone experience what I experienced. As far as like playing a combat sport, hitting your head too many times in your life, and then having to pay, a significant toll afterwards. During this whole process, guys, how about this? During this whole process, I bought my house in my second year, going into my second year in the NFL here in Tampa. I get into a legal dispute with my neighbor, and $400,000 plus later in the lawsuit. During all this, my neighbor, we have a lawsuit, and during this time, there would be times where I would be where I would go in for being Baker acted, like being in a 72-hour hold. Then I would have to go into court and
Wow.
like in a couple of days and stand there while I'm dealing with the lawsuit with my neighbor.
Oh God. Oh God.
Yeah.
That's challenging. And I've had 2 lawsuits in the last 7 years, and it's like a lose-lose battle. Either way, you lose one, the attorney, or you lose the whole thing. And that's a nightmare. Holy wow.
Terrible.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. Like, you don't want like anyone else to go through that. I have is the frontal lobe damage basically too many hits to the head, basically the whole 24 years? So is that reversible? Like,
this is what
fix for this?
During all this, after the thing in Miami, people were reaching out to Kat and I because they wanted us to make a statement about what happened. Like, TMZ wanted us to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Other people reached out to us. We reach out to Chris Nowinski. Kat finds we find Chris Nowinski. Chris Nowinski puts us with Jeremy Schaap. Jeremy Schaap. I flew to Boston and saw the Harvard Boston, the NFL. Rob, you get that thing for the NFL thing at Harvard?
The Brain Institute that they have there?
Yeah. I went.
The player study or something.
Yeah, for everyone that doesn't know who Chris Nowinski is, he's one of the guys leading the charge for CTE in investigation, study on players and how football has affected through concussions, how it affected guys and led to some guys actually committing suicide. So he leads the charge against within that
research.
Research.
So Chris Nowinski tells me to go see the people in Harvard. The people of Harvard, Jeremy Schaap, his team from ESPN, they come to Boston. Okay. They do an MRI test on me. It's like I was in the tube for 15 minutes, right?
Right.
They tell me that was the only thing I did on my brain. They tell me that there's no brain, there's no signs of brain damage from my MRI. The next day they make me do a different MRI. They make me do like a 45-minute MRI on my brain. And then the doctor calls me. This is without the people filming. And he says, your brain, it shows that you've had a lot of damage on it over time. So
without the camera.
Yeah. So like, and then they call, then I would be really, really wrong not to mention Dr. Jillian Hotz from the University of Miami.
Yes, I know her.
Who she's the one that did not stand for them telling me that I had bipolar disorder. She got me with Dr. Ned, Ned, and he's the one that gave me the diagnosis that my family, that we all came to, we can rest and know what's going on.
Right.
You mentioned that earlier about the Jeremy guy not telling you that your show, he had better shows, or however he said it, which really pissed me off because I was just literally like, how dare you even say it in that manner, especially to someone after you know the basis for the show, like someone that has mental health. Because we had a woman on a couple podcasts ago that we shot, Nicole Van Valen, who was talking about like when athletes get rejected or they don't get picked, or when you're like a celebrity and you don't get that part that you were trying to get. And like the rejection itself is like causing people's depression, and like, and then the social media that you went through on top of it. And it's just really crappy and really fucked up for real anyways, for them to even like look at it that way and not realize that in this day and age where mental health is so prevalent and such an issue for so many people, that wasn't something that they really like dug their heels in on and was like, no, we have to share this information. And now to hear you say they turned off the cameras and then said, oh yeah, the 45-minute scan with no cameras actually shows what we already knew is insane to me. Like that's
the reason Jeremy Schaap and his team told me that they weren't doing my show, they said that my story is not they says as much as it is a sports story, your story is a medical story as well. And
caused by 26, 24 years of getting hit in the head in a combat sport.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people advocating around this. Like, for instance, like Leonard Marshall, I know him. He's doing a lot around advocating for that with the CTA, the TBI, and all the different things. There's who you guys have not met yet. We have Stephanie Anderson with NFL Sisters in Service. She's a big advocate. So there are people in your corner, Anthony.
Thank you. Yeah, I know there is.
You know, I'm in your corner.
Yeah, no doubt, Rob.
Two sisters.
Yeah, we're all in your corner. We're all in your corner, Ed. Are you still seeing the group of people that you trust, and you know, is this something that you'll continue to see them for the rest of your life, or are you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm still in contact with them.
Good.
Yeah, I'm still in contact with them.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome that, you know, the other thing, you know, for your wife, Kat, to have met you and then taken some of that journey with you. And then now you guys are married. It's a special person to, you know, it says a lot about you both and how you ride for each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. It really is. Just hearing the story, and she's an awesome person. You both are awesome. Well, we appreciate you telling your story on everything that happened, and you know, for everyone out there that's listening that may be going through something, you know, when I hear you say it's going to get better, right? That's really suicide prevention, man. That's really giving them the courage that it's not the end of the road, that you are going to get better. Look at me. Look how I've gotten better. And that strong statement that you made, that's what you want for people. You know, you're going to save a lot of lives with this story. You're going to save a lot of lives. Trust me, Ann.
A lot, because people have to push through, and you know, we're living in a day and age where everyone's comparing themselves to everybody else's Instagram page, you know, or everyone else's story. And this is like, you know, this is real. This is what's actually happening. This isn't polished up and pretty just to look, prefer it to just look pretty, you know. I really like hope you know that you can lean on everyone that's in your corner. I know Robert for a very long time, and as his sister, you know, if there's anything I can do to support him, to help him support you, like I'm on board. I'm on the team as well. Like I learned a new thing today, combat sports, which, by the way, what are the other ones? Because I've never heard this term before.
Oh, well, you have like MMA, right? You have like those, right? Boxing, MMA, like
boxing, MMA. You got hockey.
You
even had soccer, because they talk about the ball, ball hitting the kids in the head.
Wow.
You got football. You know, there's a lot of sports out there that require combat. You know, and so Anthony's bringing light to the fact that, you know, just because, you know, you go through this, you know, the sport really, it's not the end of the day, right? It's not the end of your life. You can fight. And look at him. He's been to 7 therapy facilities, 7 facilities, and he's been Baker acted numerous times.
6.
Yeah, 6 times. He's been tasered multiple times.
Only twice.
Yeah, but different occasions. Any one of those times could have been a bullet.
Yeah.
Any one of those times could have been a bullet. Also, he almost, they shot him up and overdosed him. He could have died at that moment. He is really a walking miracle. And I want people to really pay attention to his story.
Yeah, and he never quit.
And understand that
times they quit.
There's no quitting in Anthony Chickillo. There's no quitting in Anthony Chickillo. I can tell you, this guy will win in the end. He will always win. And so I'm happy that, Anthony, I'm glad you came on, talked about your story, talked about, your family and the history and moving forward. One quick question, and how did this help you at all with your disability with the NFL? Did you file for permanent disability? Did you go down that road yet?
Yeah, I got my benefits from it.
Thank
Good.
God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Question for, okay, so here's just one more question as a mom, because I divorced my husband and we had a son and we fought over him playing football. And personally, I didn't want him to play football because I had so many alumni NFL friends. I'm former NFL. I cheered for the Dolphins for 3 years and then was in the alumni program for another 3 years, from 2003 to 2018 over the course of that period. And I never wanted my kid to play football because of the hitting to the head, because I had so many friends with Junior Seau was a friend of mine. So the trauma from that alone, I did not want my son to play football. Knowing what the two of you know, like Robert, I'm asking you this question as well, is like, and seeing what's happened post your careers, would you have played football again, knowing you would have had to deal with what you dealt with post career?
At a later age, I wouldn't have played as early as I did.
What age would that be?
15.
15.
Yeah. That's interesting because I had this discussion with my husband. We have a 1-year-old son. And if he wants to play football, I'm thinking flag, at least he's really young.
Well, I would say especially like now with the rules and where it is, like football's not it's not as much hit. Like when Rob played, it was a lot more hitting than. Yeah, it was a lot more hitting than when I played. So like now the game, a kid can play flag football for a long time, and then when it's time to get recruited and stuff, go play football, learn it, and get recruited. You know what I mean? And then go play in the NFL.
Right. So basically, there's as Anthony is stating, there's different routes now to achieve the goal of making it to the NFL. There are kids that play flag football, for a major part of their career all the way until high school. So
exactly.
those are years where there's no helmet to helmet hitting, and so the rules have changed now. Helmet to helmet hitting is not allowed. There's defenseless players. So the NFL and high school and little league, they're all trying their best because they know that it is a very, very dangerous sport, and that the most important most important function of your body is your brain function. And so, they're trying their best. But, as Ashley mentioned, back in the day, man, it was brutal. I remember playing Little League and having headaches almost every single week of the season. So it was just, the equipment was different. Now they have helmets that are concussion helmets. So I'm at least happy that the NFL is taking that stance.
No, well, first, we're just going to say if there was anything else that you would like to share, Anthony, with people or part of your story, we really wanted to give you the time and the space to be able to voice it the way you wanted it to be heard.
No, if you have any other questions, you guys have any other questions, I can answer them.
Misty?
No, I think that this has been really helpful and enlightening and humbling. in some ways. And I just want to thank you again for your transparency. You know, that really means a whole lot. And I think it'll mean a whole lot to people who listen to this as well. So I really, really, really thank you for that.
All right.
Thank
So-
you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you guys.
We appreciate it. Baby,
With that, we're going to close out our show today. We want to just, again, thank you to Anthony Chickillo for this incredible, very deeply meaningful conversation that we had today. And as always, we want to remind everybody, if you're struggling with mental health, we encourage you to speak up and get help. Just like Anthony was talking about today, make sure that you speak up, that you don't give up on yourself, because it may feel like you're in the darkest corner, in the deepest depths, right? But there is a way out, and you will find your way out. Just as Anthony has demonstrated that he has done time and time again. And we're so proud of the journey that he's on and that he's shared with us. But if you are in a crisis, use 911, or of course you have the 988 crisis prevention suicide line. We always encourage you to put that number in your phone, share it with your loved ones. If you're in a big crisis, there's nowhere else to go, use 988, or if you're in an absolute emergency, of course, 911. And of course, we have the Kennedy Kids Foundation website, kennedykids.org. Go there, check it out. We have a ton of different resources available to you. So maybe if you're not in a crisis in this moment, but you do feel like you need additional support and resources, please go check that out. And as always, please like, subscribe, review, and share to help us get these messages out to the world. So Anthony, thank you once again. We are so appreciative.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
100%.
Gotta weather the storm,
Right.
gotta get mine. Gotta weather the storm, I gotta get mine.